Erev Tov, everyone, and welcome. It is Tuesday night. It is 8 p.m. here on the east side of the United States, here in the diaspora, unless you're in the Dominican Republic, which is 9 o'clock. And this is the Maimon Beit Knesset, therefore it must be the Rabbis Discuss. And it sounds like we are going to have a good discussion this evening. And let's bring in Rabbi Ancel. And Guten Abend.
Guten Abend. Shalom, everybody. It is going to be interesting.
Sag mir etwas.
Soll dir sagen etwas? Lass mir reden. Let's talk.
Yeah, okay. So tonight's discussion, well, let's see who we got in the chat. We got Donald in the chat room. We got Marshall. And still early. They'll be drifting in. Tonight's discussion is basically, this came about because of because of a number of things. First of all, there was an article. Richard has just joined us. There was an article in Rosh Hashanah. Well, actually, I saw it today about the Orthodox Rabbinical Organization denouncing 330 rabbis. And then thinking about that, I kind of thought back to some of the statements that Rabbi Ancel had actually made in various broadcasts we've done that said that basically we are our own worst enemies.
We are.
Yeah. So because of that, I thought this would be a good opportunity to kind of explore that because of it being prominent, not in the U.S. news. The U.S. very rarely covers anything like this, but because it's kind of prevalent in the Israeli news, and I thought this would be a good opportunity to discuss this a little more in depth and find out. Well, I know we're not going to find out, but maybe get a little better understanding of what's going on here. So I'm going to start with the article, very short article actually, about the rabbinical organization coming out against these 330 rabbis, and then if you have any comments, Anshul, just stop me.
You know, it's the Orthodox rabbis going against 300 and some odd other rabbis. You take a look at the two chief rabbis of Israel fighting who is going to be the chief rabbi of Israel. Instead of them saying, okay, we'll work together. No, they'd rather work against each other and fight and not talk to each other because they want to be the boss. So let's read the article.
Yeah. So let's start the article, which again was in Rosh Hashanah. And the article was written by, let me see if I can find the name here. Don't see a name on here. Not on this one. Anyway, it says that Orthodox Rabbinical Organization denounced 330 rabbis over Israel boycott. The Coalition for Jewish Values accuses 330 non-Orthodox rabbis who call to ban Israeli government ministers of hypocrisy. And I have to agree with them on this. The Coalition for Jewish Values, representing over 2,000 traditional Orthodox rabbis in America, public policy, responded today to a pledge of 330 non-Orthodox rabbis to ban democratically elected Orthodox Jewish members of Israel's Knesset from speaking in their temples or whatever you want to call them, and to lobby their communities to do the same. CJV, or the Coalition for Jewish Values, called this an obvious anti Jewish double standard displayed by all signatories of the pledge?
Question.
Yes.
Why are the AMK members of the Knesset? They're not Jews. They're Muslim.
Well,
So
not.
why aren't they complaining about them?
Why aren't they?
Yes.
That's a good question. We're going to find out. Okay, so the article goes on to say that their call reveals the unrestrained hypocrisy of these non-Orthodox and anti-Orthodox movements, said CJV President Rabbi Yoel Schoenfeld. The same people who virtue signal their tolerance, in quotes, demonstrate that they are the least tolerant of all. Anyone who speaks outside of their ideological echo chamber must be canceled, censored, and banned. Israel has not, contrary to their claims, disenfranchised them. Rather, it is they who seek to disenfranchise Israel. Their frantic call to reject duly elected members of Knesset reflect their alienation of both the Israel electorate and the mainstream American pro-Israel community, added CJV Midwestern Regional Vice President Rabbi Zehev Shmason. These rabbis not only grant undue credulity to anti-Semitic double standard at a time of increasing anti-Semitism, but further, during the holiday of Hanukkah, align themselves with the Hellenists who sought to muzzle authentic Jewish voices. One thing is for certain, hundreds of authentic Jewish congregations will welcome these and other members of Knesset with open arms. So, I mean, it sounds, I mean, the article is pretty short, and it doesn't really give you an idea of what's actually going on behind the scenes here. Why this big brouhaha over these 330 rabbis? Who are these 330 rabbis that they're talking about?
They're talking about Reform rabbis. They're talking about conservative rabbis. They're talking about egalitarian. But here's the question: who are these Orthodox rabbis? Are there in these organizations? Is there Chabad or is there Breslev or is there this? Because if you're talking about Orthodox rabbis, so we have Orthodox rabbis who carry the Palestinian flag and the scarves, and they're rabbis.
Yeah.
So, what gives them the right to complain against the other 330 rabbis? Maybe the 330 rabbis are better than they are. And we're not supposed to judge. You know, you can question their actions, you can question their beliefs, but you know, only the boss is allowed to judge. But we do it anyways.
Yeah. But okay, so I wanted to get some more information on this because, like I said, I read the first article. It says really not clear, and I tend to say, okay, well, you're saying this. Let's find out what's going on in the background here. So
the fight is that because there's so many parties, and every party wants to be in charge of the government in Israel. So there's always going to be somebody who's not going to be happy. There's always going to be somebody who's going to complain.
Yeah, but in this case, that's not actually the case because most of these rabbis, well, as we're going to find out, most of these rabbis want to have nothing to do with Israel.
That is understood. Well, that's even worse.
Right.
But so here's my question: why don't you leave the state of Israel? But I have the answer. Because they sit there and multiply like the sands of the oceans. And what happens? Israel is supporting them. It gives them the little chekala every month, and they produce soccer teams.
Well, that's one way to put it.
So if you don't recognize the state of Israel, which a lot of them don't, these Orthodox rabbis, why are you there? Question. Go back
Yeah.
to the States or go back to
Well,
Canada.
I
Where,
think
from where,
mainly what you're talking about, and we have to kind of clarify that a little bit. That mainly when we're talking about Orthodox rabbis, there's a lot of different kinds of Orthodox rabbis, and we're basically talking about the Haredim that are basically the ones that are anti-Israel are basically from the Hasidishe, right?
yep.
I mean
Uh-huh.
the Satmars,
I
the
don't, you know, the
Chabadniks.
Haredi, they're the ones, you're right, they're the Haredi Jews. I don't think of them as Jews. I don't even think of them as Goyim. I don't know what to name them because I just don't understand them. If you don't love the United States, get out. If you don't like Israel, get out. But as long as the government is giving them money so they can live, because they certainly don't work, they certainly don't send their children to the IDF,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but they don't recognize the state of Israel, but they'll accept the money.
yeah. So let's get
It's
again. I wanted to look into this a little different, a little bit deeper. I found a good article about this. It's called America. Again, it's from Rich Sheva. It's an opinion piece, but there's a lot of facts in here. The piece is titled "Americans' Progressive Rabbis," in quotes, have done it again. 330 progressive rabbis called to ban Schmutrik and Ben Gvir while embracing BLM, which calls for Israel's destruction. Now, this op ed was written by Ezekiel Doini. I apologize if I'm mispronouncing his name, which was written, actually, this piece was written yesterday. So let's get into a little bit on this article here. So he goes on to start saying that on December 1st, or December 23rd, 2022, the media reported that more than 330 American clergy from Reform, Conservative, and Reconstructionist progressive movements, including some who occupy prominent roles in major cities, have issued a call to action for clergy in protest of Israeli government extremists pledging to ban members of the Religious Zionist Alliance from speaking at their synagogues. Okay, so this was picked up by the American press. Of course they would pick up on this. Oh, 330 rabbis. Oh, that's a tremendous amount. So there must be something to it. Okay, so be that as it may. Okay, because again, the letter that was written in the other article was signed by over 2,000 rabbis. So anyway, in addition, they plan to lobby to ban them from speaking anywhere in their communities. Needless to say, not a single Orthodox rabbi has signed for the call to action. So, Bezalel Schmutrik and Yitzhak ben Gvir, excuse me, if I can get it to work right, Gvir, I would imagine, are not losing any sleep over this report. After all, clergy in these non-Orthodox movements have demonstrated and claimed that they sat Shiva after Trump's election, signed protest against his moving the embassy to Jerusalem, and just recently came out in favor of, get this, Ilan Omar's membership on the House Foreign Relations Committee, so no one expects anything else.
So who's the head of the House committee? It's a Jew.
Yeah. But Ben Gvir and Schmutrik are not the only ones being banned by progressive Jewish groups in America. They are also banning anyone that shows support for the Jewish state. And I can tell you that from my own area. We've seen that for years. On May 8th, the New York Post reported that in the Wall Street Journal piece, Elliot Abrams and Eric Cohen, respectively chairman and CEO of Tikva and co-chairman of the Jewish Leadership Conference, the JLC, revealed that Manhattan's Museum of Jewish Heritage canceled a planned JLC event because Florida Governor Ron DeSantis was invited to speak. Abrams and Cohen, we were working closely with them in, let's see, in April 2021, leftist Jewish organization tried to expel the Zionist organization of, wait a minute, I think I got my pages mixed up here. Let's see. Yeah, I kind of cut it off on there from my printer. Anyway, they were working closely with this with the museum to get these speakers in. In April 21, leftist organization tried to expel Zionist Organization of America, the ZOA, from the JCRC, the Boston Jewish Community Relations Council, the JCRC Coalition. Make sure that's not on the back. A coalition of Jewish organizations demanded the ZOA make a pledge to stop criticism of Talib, Omar, or BLM anti-Semitism in order not to expel them from the JCRC. So on April 17th, 2021, Robert Spencer reported in PJ Medium, leftists tried to cancel Zionist leader for criticizing Talib Omar and noting that BLM is anti-Semitic. The Boston Jewish Community Relations Council, JCRC again, a coalition of Jewish organizations is set up to meet on April 27th to decide whether or not to expel the Zionist Organization of America over charges that it is white supremacist. Can you believe that? Oh, it's just like everything else with this woke culture. I mean, all you got to do is cry racist and you can get your way.
Yes, sir.
Of course, everyone to the right of Pol Pot is a white supremacist these days, as far as the left is concerned. The real sin of ZOA's national president, Mort Klein, is that he dared to criticize leftist power brokers to the point to point out Black Lives Matter is not a saintly organization of establishment media myth, but a voracious, hateful, and anti-Semitic group, telling unwanted truths about people that causes that the left idealizes, get you lumped in with the KKK in this insane age. I have to agree with him. It all started last year with a petition from the leftist Jewish group J Street, the notoriously leftist, and the Jewish Alliance for Law and Social Action, of course, Women of Reform Judaism, and others, calling for the ZOA to be expelled from the Boston JCRC because Klein had made statements that supposedly ventured into xenophobic and racist territory. Of course, there's the catchword again. And thus ZOA's membership was not compatible with and is in conflict with the mission of the JCRC. The petition stated, so long as ZOA enjoys a seat on the American Jewish community table, we are collectively signaling that their views are a welcome and tolerable part of our community life. American Jewish institutions must make clear that Klein's pattern of abuse and bigotry have no place in our Jewish community life. Basically what they're saying, you have to get rid of Klein. We're going to cancel Klein, which is what that's what the leftists are all about, canceling people. Among Klein's xenophobic and racist statements were critical remarks about revered, untouchable figures on the left, including George Soros, Barack Obama, and Representatives Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar. Why only a racist could have any remotely negative word to say about them. Again, this is an opinion piece, so... the petition also claims that Klein's criticism of Black Lives Matter extended well beyond acceptable discourse on race. This is because Klein tweeted, "Black Lives Matter is an anti-Semitic, Israel-hating, Soros-funded, racist, extremist, Israelophobic hate group, and I urge the SPLC, or the Southern Poverty Law Center," which has no legitimacy whatsoever anymore, to immediately put Black Lives Matter on their list of hate groups. BLM is a Jew-hating, white-hating, Israel-hating, conservative, black-hating, violence-promoting, dangerous, Soros-funded extreme group of haters. Klein was right, and he wasn't the only person who noticed. Even leftist newspaper Haaretz reported in 2018 that the new platform... Why does this thing keep skipping around like this on me? Yeah, I think this thing has been pushing my pages around here. Although it ignores the BDS distinctions. Crying out loud. Yeah, one of the goals of the Black Lives Matter movement is the destruction of Israel. In a Zoom panel event on February 6, 2021, organized by the Democratic Socialists of America, BDS and Palestinian Solidarity National Working Group, a National Political Education Committee, DSA Muslim Caucus, and Afro-sociologists and socialists of color caucuses. The panel featured Temple University Professor Mark Lamont, among other fellow. I'm just trying to find that piece where it actually goes into.
It also includes Farrakhan and that Linda.
Yeah. Let me actually. I'm glad I did this because I pulled up the actual article just in case there was an issue with what we were reading here. So let's get over here to the actual article. Okay, so let's see. Let's go back here to Klein again. Klein was right, and he wasn't the only one who noticed. Even the leftist newspaper Haaretz reported in 2018 that the new platform associated with Black Lives Matter movement that describes Israel as an apartheid state committing genocide against Palestinian people has triggered critical response from Jewish organization, even its allies. And in August 2020, journalist Daniel Greenfield noted that a Black Lives Matter rioter was caught on video spray painting Free Palestine on the driveway of the Beth Hillel Temple in Kenosha. And during the Los Angeles Black Lives Matter riots, which targeted the Fairfax community and its large Orthodox Jewish population, Congregation Beth El on Beverly Boulevard was spray painted with the hateful message, F Israel and Free Palestine. Back in 2015, Black Lives Matter operatives visited Palestine and linked the jihad against Israel to a race war in the United States. As far as the left is concerned, however, these are facts that only racists dare to notice. ZOA shot back with a statement that challenged the lynch mob and its hypocrisy. And you'll have to excuse me. I keep biting the inside of my mouth for something. Well, you know how it is. You know, you bite it once, you're going to bite it 10 more times, right? Ancel? Okay. Klein wrote, inappropriate concern was raised due to the legitimate criticism of the anti-Israel actions and policies in the organization called Black Lives Matter. This was especially hurtful to ZOA since it fully, publicly, and unequivocally supports equality and fairness to all races, including, of course, all black lives. But you can't say that. After reviewing the matter for 6 months, the RCA's committee voted unanimously that ZOA should not be removed. We already talked about that. Let's get a little farther down. So, on February 17, 2021, Samantha Mandelis reported in Legal Insurrection. One of the goals of Black Lives Matter movement is the destruction of Israel. In a Zoom panel event on February 6, 2021, organized by the Democratic Socialists of America, DSA, BDS, and Palestinian Solidarity Working Group, National Public Education Committee, DSA Muslim Caucus, and Afro-sociologists and sociologists of color. The panel featured Temple University professor Mark Lamont Hill, among fellow boycott, divest, sanctioned BDS supporters Omar Barghouti, Sumaya Awad, and Jamul Amiari, whatever her name is, his, her, whatever. Each of the panelists has a long history of anti-Israel organizing. Omar has been a professor of BDSers since the early 2000s. Although he often ignores the BDS dictates that he commands and others to follow. Ajuma was an activist with Durham to Palestine, a local North Carolina network to invoke the deadly exchange, a conspiracy theory that blames Israel and American Jewish groups for political shootings of blacks in the U.S. And as a high-ranking official, Adala Justice Project, Sumaya Awad has helped promote the organization's bizarre claim that Zionism is underpinned by anti-blackness. Meanwhile, since the birth of the 2013 Black Lives Matter movement, founder and prominent leader have all enjoyed symbolic relationships with the international anti-Israel movement. Indeed, anti-Israel agitators play an active role in stoking the 24. These are the people that are being supported in writing by these 330 American Reform, Conservative, and Reconstructionist rabbis. These are the people. This is what they're supporting. This stuff. Mark Lamont Hill, we understand that we can't dismantle white supremacy or imperialism section by section. There is no way to stop settler colonial movement in Palestine and not be mindful of its relationship to a settler colonial project in New Zealand or Australia or in the United States. Its global system that we have to dismantle. Black Lives Matter has imagined a world that is anti-imperialist, which is really funny. I mean, you have a lot of Muslims involved in this, and there is no bigger colonizer in the world than Islam. Okay, they don't want to just nation build, but they want to world make. And so Black Lives... Yeah?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
So Black Lives Matter very explicitly is talking about dismantling of the Zionist project, dismantling of the settler colonist project, and very explicitly embracing BDS on those grounds. So, what do you got to say?
Well, and they're saying that Israel is the biggest apartheid state, but yet you can find a mosque, a synagogue, and a church in the same street in Israel. You have every possible nation in Israel, and they live together. Even the Muslims who are actual citizens of the United States, they also have representatives in the Knesset.
Yeah.
But yet, We are an apartheid state,
Right,
right?
right.
Right.
Yeah. According to them, we're in a part. Now, if a Jew tries to go to Gaza, what'll happen to him?
How many Jews in Gaza?
Yeah, absolutely none.
How many Muslims live in Israel? And I can tell
Oh,
you,
in Israel, a lot.
1.8 million Arabs
Yeah,
live in Israel, and we are an apartheid state.
yeah.
Correct.
So naturally, Hill presented no evidence of the supposed interconnectedness of century-old European colonization of the New World with Zionism. The modern Jewish liberation movement centered around the ancient Jewish connection to Jerusalem, or as it was called in the early as the biblical book of Samuel, Zion, because no such evidence actually exists. But that doesn't stop them. But when it comes to Israel, hard facts are clearly matter little to Hill and DSA comrades. His words, or BLM leadership. After all, why they communicate a compelling narrative and successful recruitment tool to a scrupulous examination of history. And intersectional ignorance must be bliss. Nevertheless, a list of 600 plus leftist American Jewish organizations embraced BLM, and on June 12, 2020, the Union of Reform Judaism wrote in their official web page, Reform Jewish Leadership Statement, Black Lives Matter is a Jewish value. Yeah, right. Yeah.
I can see some of the complaints. Some of these reform or conservative rabbis, they do things the wrong way. Let's say, for example, conversions, and the prime example is Whoopi Goldberg. She converted to Judaism, correct? Look what she's doing now.
Yeah, I don't think, to tell you the truth, I actually looked into that. I don't think she actually converted.
Oh,
I think that she took the name Goldberg for the simple reason that she thought actually that her parents told her to change her name to that so that she could get in Hollywood. She had a Jewish name, she would be supposedly she would be automatically in Hollywood. So I don't think she's ever actually converted.
I thought she converted. If it's not true, then it's my mistake.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm not sure. I haven't found anything or any statement by a rabbi or anything like that that said, yeah, I converted her, or that. I mean, she promotes herself as being Jewish. She said she's got, Jewish heritage or something, but she can't prove anything. And like I said, if she converted, where's the rabbi that converted her? So anyway, so on April 14, 2021, Yakir Ben-Zion wrote in United with Israel, the heads of leading black organizations that support Israel said Tuesday that the Black Lives Matter movement in America has been co-opted by people who are making millions of dollars from donations and using their platform to push an anti-Israel message instead of concentrating on black rights. And we've already seen there's been a number of cases brought against Black Lives Matter in court for misappropriation of funds. We at the Institution of Black Solidarity with Israel, the IBSI, have been asking this question for years now and still have not received an answer. IBSI Director Joshua Washington wrote in Times of Israel, if Black Lives Matter is supposed to be about police killing of unarmed black people, why is part of it focused on Israel thousands of miles away, as opposed to the example of the African slave trade in Libya, Saudi Arabia, Mauritania, and Qatar? Asked Washington. BLM leaders are using the black community as a cudgel against Israel gathering much personal wealth in the process. And again, we've seen the legal cases being brought against them just for that.
It's because
Washington,
if you concentrate on Israel and call them all kinds of names, what happens in the rest of the world, in Libya and this, it's quiet. So they have
yeah,
somebody to fight,
yeah.
have somebody to blame. This is why I always
Well,
said,
it's like a magic trick. It's like the magician. It's a
yep,
it's a you know, watch what I'm doing with this hand, but don't watch what I'm doing with this hand because this hand has got the trick.
it's unfortunate because this is what Israel needs to do. They need to look after Gaza. Then you won't have any problems. But as long as they have that problem, as long as you have the democratic side of Judaism or the Democrats supporting the Gaza and the Palestine, which never existed,
Yeah.
you will have those problems, no matter how you look at it.
Yeah. So back to the article. Washington noted that since its inception in 2013, the Black Lives Matter organization has amassed tens of millions of dollars in corporate and individual donations, with 90 million raised last year, particularly after the death of George Floyd in Minneapolis. Which I see these commercials on TV all the time, trying to make a saint out of George Floyd, who was nothing but a petty criminal.
He's a
However,
drugster.
pardon?
He's a drug addict.
Yeah, he died by his own hand, but they don't want to bring that up. However, since 2013, the lack of financial transparency in the BLM, it's interesting. We may actually get kicked off of YouTube for this. You know that? I am absolutely serious. Every one of our broadcasts that we do has a copyright strike against it right now and is being blocked. So, however, since the lack of financial transparency in the BLM organization has been a topic of multiple investigative articles, with BLM co-founder Patrice Cullors being questioned as to why she recently bought her fourth house worth over $1 million instead of using the funds to help solve the problems of police disproportionately targeting black people, which is not true at all. And that is actually not true at all. BLM has been diverting funds for alternate agendas like its anti-Israel activism. This is not a movement that was hijacked. On the contrary, BLM is the hijack, said Washington. Following the 2014 killing of Michael Brown Jr. by a white cop in Ferguson, Montana. That was the rapist, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The world saw the Israeli-Palestinian conflict forcibly injected into the bloodstream of what was supposed to be a movement about police brutality and criminal justice, noted Washington. From Ferguson to Palestine was the rally cry created in order to demonize Israel, falsely correlating the plight of the Palestinians with black Americans, and even blaming the Jewish state for American police violence, Washington said. I mean, that's all you got to do. You either cry racist or say it's Israel's fault, and you get a pass.
Correct.
He noted that in a 2016, and let me just say this. I know we're still on YouTube. That does not guarantee that this whole show will be on YouTube. If we disappear from YouTube, go over to rumble.com, because we will just pick up everything and we will move it over to Rumble. And again, Rumble is free and they are a free speech platform. So if we disappear here on YouTube, which is very possible this evening, you can always find us on Rumble. In fact, you can find our broadcast on Rumble right now. Okay. So he noted in that 2016 interview, BLM leaders, because I'm done. I'm done playing nice with these people. Stuff needs to be said, and people need to say it. And the more that do, and the more that they want to kick off of YouTube, YouTube is just going to get smaller and smaller and more insignificant until they just kind of dry up and disappear. So back to the article. I had to say it, Let's see. Washington slammed those comments, saying it is reprehensible and manipulative for falsely trying to link Israel counterterrorism efforts with any sort of racism or injustice by American police. Alluding to Israel as a apartheid South Africa is equally reprehensible. Even if Colors and BLM leadership truly felt that way, how does attacking Israel help the families of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and Ahmaud Arbery? Answer, it doesn't, Washington said. BLM wants Israel's destruction. The reform movement supports BLM, but comes out against these these representatives, the Knesset representatives, elected by democratic means in the Jewish state. The Lubavitcher Rebbe saw it coming in the book The Letter and the Spirit, Volume 2, page 57. An Orthodox rabbi cannot in all conscience recognize the conservative and reform points of view inasmuch as both of the latter do not accept the written and oral law. Hence, these movements and their representatives cannot be recognized as legitimately representing the Jewish religion inasmuch as they reject it. This has been unequivocally ruled by the Rambam and other authorities that followed him who have established the laws and attitudes of the Shulchan Aruch, leaving no room for doubt or discussion on this basic subject. From the above, it follows immediately that the activities of such dissident groups cannot be recognized as Jewish religious activities within the definition of Jewish religion. Okay, so there we have I know that was a long article, and there was a lot of information on there, but I think that the reason I wanted to go into this article was to basically to give you some, you the listeners, some ammunition when you run into these people that and their accusations, and you'll be able to say, well, what about BLM? BLM has stated that they are anti-Israel, that one of their goals is to destroy the state of Israel. Which this whole thing with the hiding behind, I'm not anti-Semitic, I'm just anti-Zionist. Well, that's just cover. If you're anti-Zionist, you're anti-Semitic. Period. So don't hide behind that canard. Questions, thoughts, observations, Ruder Snide comments, anything? Ancel, did you fall asleep?
No, I'm waiting for some comments in the room.
Well, you know that there's a 12-second delay between when I say it and before they actually hear it in the room. And then whenever they post in the room, it's going to be a 12-second delay coming back. So we got almost a half a minute before anybody's actually going to say anything.
It's strange that they didn't mention one of the two biggest enemies of the state of Israel, which is Farrakhan. Soros was mentioned, and Linda, I call her Sewer, but she is Sewer.
Yeah. Well, that's part of the what do they call them? The squad.
Yeah.
I mean, even AOC is a raving anti-Semite. She's made her statements too about Jewish money. On the floor of the Congress. Yeah, it's just absolutely horrendous what's going on. Okay, so we are at our halfway point. We're going to take a little break. Ancel, I am going to turn you down here for a second.
Okay.
And we're going to take our break. And when we return, we'll discuss a little more about these 330 rabbis and what the heck they were thinking when they came up with this idea. So please stay tuned. We will be back in 6.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Delicious things to eat.
The popcorn can't be beat. The sparkling drinks are just dandy. The chocolate bars and the candy. So let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
It's intermission time, folks, so hurry, hurry, hurry. Step right over to our refreshment center for the most extravagant array of refreshment goodies ever assembled under one roof. Enjoy breathtaking, mouth-watering goodies, everything from a snack to a delicious full meal. At our refreshment center, you'll find a large variety of goodies to satisfy your hunger, your thirst, or your sweet tooth. So hurry, hurry, hurry. Visit our refreshment center now. The show starts in 5 minutes. The show starts in 4 minutes. The show starts in 3 minutes. The show starts in 2 minutes. The show starts in 1 minute. And now, on with the show.
I might want to turn the camera on. That usually helps. Yeah, okay. So, we are back. I get Rabbi Ancel and I get talking, during the break and stuff, and I kind of forget about what I'm doing with the control panel. So, let's bring Rabbi Ancel back on.
I'm here.
So I don't get it. I just don't get why these particular, who are, these 330 rabbis, who's in most cases are leaders of a community, have a large say in their communities and stuff like that, call themselves religious leaders, and they will align themselves with absolute Jew haters like Talib and Omar, and who was the other one that you brought up?
Farrakhan.
Well, no, not Farrakhan, but the other one of the pardon? Sons, yeah,
Linda Seward.
yeah, and align themselves with people like that are they hate the Jews. I mean, it's nothing more than, again, like we were talking about offline here, is that it's like the guy feeding the alligators, hoping that he's going to be the last one to get ate. You're going to get ate, You're just forestalling the inevitable. I mean, and you support these people, you're basically supporting people who want you dead.
Listen, many times in Fort Lauderdale, when it came around Christmas time, some of these, and I knew they were Democrats. I knew they were from the left. They told me, says, Ancel, you can't go out with the yarmulke. You know it's a dangerous time of the year. They hate us. They hate Jews. Says, they'll hurt you. I mean, I didn't listen to them. But this is ingrained in them. And I'm not saying that these 300 and whatever rabbis that are saints. I don't know where they got their smicha, and I don't care. But anybody that aligns themselves to being against the state of Israel, I would take away their smicha. I would just throw them out on the street. And these guys are leaders of the Jewish community. But I bet you, and I'm sorry if there's anybody in the room that's a Democrat, it's no disrespect. But I find that the worst Jews are the Democratic Jews. Sorry.
Yeah, it's
I find the Haredi Jews that walk around with the scars of Palestine and the flags of Palestine. Where's their seichel? Where's their brains? And they know that Palestine never existed.
Yeah, no, okay, let's okay, I'm gonna step in on this one, because that sect, that Haredi sect, is a very, very, very small sect. I think there's less than 100 of them. And yeah, I mean, they've been denounced by just about every Hasidic group out there. But yeah, I mean, we don't want people getting the idea that there's a large group of them running around with supporting the Palestinians and stuff in
But they're
Israel,
known.
because they're just a crazy sect. I mean, and most of them are all related anyway. It's like a family thing. So
Tell me something. So the Haredi, what about the strictly Orthodox Jews that don't believe in the state of Israel, but they live in Israel? Why don't they leave? It's because it's a free country. It's because they will multiply, like I told you before, they will multiply like the sands of the oceans. They will make enough kids that they can have their own soccer teams. And Israel gives them the check every month. They don't work. Their sons don't go to the IDF,
right.
but they live in Israel. If you don't recognize the state of Israel, get the hell out. No, but they don't. They're smart. They live in Israel and they say, no, this state does not, it's not a country. They call it a state.
Yeah, I mean that's extremely hypocritical.
It is.
Okay, you don't believe in the state, but you will take the money from the people who actually live there.
So why do I need to worry about the Palestinians? Why do I need anybody's from the United States, from Canada, from Europe? Why do I need them? We have our own enemies within. It amazes me, but we're surviving. We're survivors, and
Yeah.
but my question is, where's Judaism and what is Israel heading to? Because they need to take care of. They need to take care. They have a big problem. If they don't take care of the problem, the palace or whatever the people, the Muslims in Gaza, they're going to kill like they do, one by one by one, and then there won't be any. And Muslims outnumber us 10,000 to one.
Yeah.
So
Well, Israel definitely needs to take a strong hand with them. But I mean, what do you do about what do you do about these people? I mean, other than getting educated about them and calling them on their BS, but not going to listen. They're not going to listen. They're going to listen to what the media tells them. Media, the only time the media ever shows anything about Israel is when they want to bash them.
listen, there's no such thing as media in Canada and United States. It's not a media.
Right.
It's a
Propaganda.
piece of like they live on bad news. There's no good news in the papers. There's no good news in the news. It's everything
Well, I mean,
is bad.
that's been the thing with the media. I mean, that's been a call to the media since the 1930s. If it bleeds, it leads.
CNN. I couldn't sit there for 10 seconds and not to scream. It's everything. It's the universities. There's anti-Semitism. It's growing and growing and growing. Where are we heading to? I said to Aryel, I'm not scared. I am a Dominican, but you never know. They're starting. Some Arabs are starting to infiltrate in here. Are they going to do anything about it? No, because Dominicans love the Jews because we built their country. So I'm not afraid, but I love the United States. I've lived both in Canada and the United States. I love the United States. I consider it my country. But when I see what's going on, I mean,
Yeah, it's like
Yes.
I've said this before myself that what the United States is today, I do not recognize from the United States that I grew up in. It is like a completely different country.
it, what the Democrats have done to this country is
Well,
they're giving out. Somebody needs to explain to me. Maybe I'm on the wrong side of the road. Somebody has to explain to me why does the United States have to give billions of dollars to other countries? Yet you have veterans that gave their lives. They're crippled and they sleep on the streets. I see pictures of veterans sleeping with a dog so they can keep warm in the wintertime. Doesn't the government, doesn't anybody have a heart?
Yeah, yeah. I
I
mean, yeah,
mean, I was in the force, you were in the force.
yeah.
There was no guarantee we come back.
That's right.
Yet we're shunned. By whom? And then, like I said, the Jewish Democrats support, the Jews that are on the left support the Democrats. And they are the biggest sinful Jews that there is. I'm sorry, like I said, and I mean no disrespect. They say that the truth hurts, but it's the truth. So, you know, having enemies from the outside, who cares? When we bicker on the inside, they bicker.
Yeah.
Every 2 years or every year or every 9 months, there's a new election in Israel because they can't get along with each other.
Okay. So let me let me ask you this. Okay. So you know, yes, we do fight among ourselves. And again, it's like during the break we were talking that okay, the Orthodox, the Haredi, they don't like what's going on with the Reform, with the Conservative, and with the Reconstructionists and stuff like that. But they keep it pretty much on the down low. They don't make a big issue of it. But every time something happens that doesn't go the way of the Reform, the Conservative, and the Reconstructionists, they are all over the place, making a huge issue out of it. I mean, they're very typical liberal Jews that I mean, they're just like other liberals. I mean, they'll take one small thing and they will blow it up into a mountain, just to get some press, and it makes us all look bad.
Because they want to be noticed.
Yeah. Yeah, well,
They
they
want to
think,
be noticed.
again, they want to keep feeding the alligators so that they'll be eaten last.
Yeah. They're protecting themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we saw them in the camps too, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So, you know, uh, but it's yeah, I just don't get it. I mean, halachically, okay. Well, actually, even if we go to the Talmud, why are we bringing this up? Why are we talking, smack about the Reform, the Conservative, and the Reconstructionists? Well, let me remind you what it says in the Talmud. Those who keep silent participate in the sin of the community.
Correct.
So we are obligated to actually say something, to call them out on it. It's the same thing as Hashem commanded us to say, okay, well, don't be a talebearer. Don't hate your brother because of what he's doing, but don't stand by idly, and just let him go and do it. You have to say
Listen,
something. You have to say something. You have to warn him privately. If he doesn't take the warning, then you have to be a little sterner. And then finally, you just escalate until you just come out and say right in front of everybody, "Hey, I told you before, that's wrong."
But remember, the reform movement makes it easy for a non-believing Jew. Makes it easy. Oh, Hashem, that's an old story. Shabbos, go to work.
Yeah.
Pork? Well, pork is processed. It's clean. You can eat it. Shabbos, you can come. If you don't come Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, give your donation to the synagogue. The rest, forget about it. Yes, a lot of them, a lot of the in the reform movement have done a lot of damage to Judaism.
Yeah.
And I can see the Orthodox rabbis, being mad. Conservative movement bastardized the religion the worst way because I can see the reform movement moving towards orthodoxy, and I see the conservative movement going the other way.
Uh-huh.
So You know, yeah, there are reasons to be disappointed, but these movements. But the final thing is, they are Jews. They're our own community of Jews.
Yeah.
But yet we bicker and bicker among us. I wonder what the Christians think of it. I wonder what the Muslims must be laughing in Israel because they see all this bickering between the parties.
Oh, yeah.
They just sit there and wait and just say, "Oh, wait until they become weak enough. We'll take over." That's what's going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Anybody in the room has any comments?
Yeah, there is a number of comments in there. I'm gonna read this last part once more because I like what it actually says because this came from the Lubavitcher Rebbe again in his book the Letter and the Spirit. An Orthodox rabbi cannot, in all good conscience, recognize the conservative and the reform points of view, inasmuch as both of the latter do not accept the written and oral law. Hence, these movements and their representatives cannot be recognized as legitimately representing the Jewish religion, inasmuch as they reject it. This has been unequivocally ruled on by the Rambam and other authorities that follow him, who have established the laws and the attitudes of the Shulchan Aruch, leaving no room for doubt or discussion on this basic issue. He goes on to say, from the above follows immediately that all activities of such dissident groups cannot be recognized as Jewish religious activities within the definition of the Jewish religion. I think that's a pretty strong statement, considering this came out, did that book came out 20 years ago? 25 years ago?
I believe he foresaw this.
Yeah, I don't... Yeah, I mean, as much as it was true back then, it's even truer now. Let's see what we got in the chat room. Donald is just furiously typing away in here. Let's see. Donald, judging is supposed to be by God. The Sephardic rabbi should not have signed the letter. I guarantee you no Sephardic rabbi had signed that letter. Let's see. We live in a bizarro world. Oh, you ain't kidding with that. This is from Marshall. We live in a bizarro world, and many Jews have assimilated to it. Let's see. Oh, as far as the printing goes on there, it's from the website because the masthead actually covers up part of it as it's printing. It's covering up part of that, so there wasn't a heck of a lot we could do. Fortunately, I had it loaded up and ready to go just in case. So let's see. Now it says, so when I attended Chabad during Yom Kippur, a black Jewish family was there. The family would not have been allowed if they were not Jewish. By the way, the family is a member of that shul. Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, you have Orthodox Jews here. The black Orthodox Jews here where I live. I mean, they're stuck with going to a conservative synagogue because there's no Orthodox synagogue here other than us. Donald goes on to say, face it, we Jews are blamed for all the wrongs of the world. By faulting Jews, the world can ignore others.
Donald, Israel has a problem with Gaza, okay? Why don't you take care of the problem? You're going to get blamed anyways.
That's exactly right. I've been saying it for years. Turn Gaza into a 80,000 hole golf course. Yeah.
That's what exactly.
And then just pave the whole thing over and make it a parking lot.
Gonna get blamed anyway. So what?
That's right.
So what's the difference?
Yeah.
And can I tell them about the story about this Jewish couple that wanted to get married? They called me.
Oh, go ahead.
The
Yeah.
Russian couple.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just to show you about Judaism. I had this Jewish couple. They wanted to get married here in the Dominican. So we started to talk, and the groom came out right away. Rabbi, I don't want to wear a tallis. So I explained to him what it is, what the meaning of the tallis is. I don't want to. I said, okay, listen, you don't want to wear a tallis, it's okay. But I don't want to wear a yarmulke either. And then he really got to me. He says, Rabbi, I was raised in an Orthodox home, but I don't believe in it. So I don't want to wear a yarmulke. Exactly what I told him. Says, go get a priest. And they got married. I guess they got married in New York. But that's Judaism. Because this intermarriages and it does so much damage. Especially, what is a couple going to do? You know, you're Jewish, she's not. You have children. How are you going to raise them? Are you going to raise them as Jews because they're not? Because she's not? Are you going to raise them as Christians because they are? And that destroys the family.
Let's go back to the Torah, the story of Balak and Balaam.
Yep.
Right? And after the whole incident where he, couldn't curse Israel, Balaam tells Balak, "I'll tell you what to do, how to destroy the Jews." And what did he tell him to do? Send your daughters to mingle with them, to mingle with the men, and when they marry the men, the daughters will turn the men away.
Yeah.
And then from there we got Pinchas, so.
I've been, like I said, I told you, I've been very lucky that from all the weddings, and I've done a few hundred of them, that I've only done myself 2 Jewish divorces, which is not a bad average, but still, the
the question is, okay, so let's compare this to education.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, when you constantly, as they do here in the United States in the public school system, you constantly lower the bar and lower the bar and lower the bar, because it's politically correct. You don't want to leave anybody behind. You don't want to hurt anybody's feelings or anything like that. What do you end up getting? You get exactly what we have now. The only way to actually get them to want to be educated is to challenge them. You don't lower the bar, you set the bar higher. And that's what we need to do. We need to set the bar higher for Jews. For Jews,
yes. But you have football players and basketball players, and a lot of the universities, they get subsidized by the government, and they need to have a certain standard. So they lower the standards so that they can match, so they can get supported. And they don't realize the damage they do to these kids. Somebody told me, and I don't know if it's true, I'm just repeating it. Somebody told me that some of these football players, they get bachelor's degree in basket weaving. I don't know if it's true, but
no, usually physical education or some type of communications or something like that. But there are exceptions to that. There are athletes who have gotten real legitimate degrees, law degrees and stuff like that.
Yes.
But they're not in the majority.
No. So, question is, what do we do about this?
Well, that's what I said. We have to set the standard higher. We can't just say, you're a reform, at least you're going to synagogue. No, that's not good enough. We have to demand that they raise themselves up. Nobody's going to raise them up by themselves.
They're going to listen.
You have to take it upon yourself to become a better Jew, to become better educated, And it's the responsibility of the Jewish community to make those opportunities available so that those people can get themselves educated. Now, granted, it's a lot easier these days because we have the internet and there's a lot of information out there. People can educate themselves, but that wasn't always the case. I mean, until the 1980s, maybe.
Yep.
There wasn't, you didn't even have Google back then. You had Jeeves. You had what were some of the other ones? Some of the old search engines and stuff like that, and there was not a lot of choice. But nowadays, there's a tremendous amount of choice. So before that, the education had to belong to the synagogue, and if your synagogue does not provide education, then demand it. And if they won't provide it, then go on and find out for yourself. You're responsible to bring your community up. You're a Jew. You're part of that community. It's your responsible to be part of the solution, not a part of going along or being a part of the problem. Go out there, get yourself educated, run the classes yourself.
Yeah. The Jewish education should start at home with the father, grandfather, and then going to Jewish school and following it. But nowadays it's not done. The father is too busy working; he doesn't have time. Mothers and now also the mothers are working. The children don't go to Jewish school when it's time for them to have a bar mitzvah or a bat mitzvah. They cram that portion of the Torah into them. They haven't got a clue what it means. They just read it. Doesn't mean anything to them.
Yeah.
What it means to them is to have a big $100,000 party. That's what it means. And they learn from their parents, and that's what they're going to do as parents. Unfortunately, but true.
Yeah. I mean, you can sit around and wait for somebody else to do it for you, or you can sit around and bewail the fact that nobody's there doing it for you, or you can get up off your tuchus and you can go and find these things out. Even if you have to learn it together, at least you're learning. We have to get back to that. I mean, I wish you could see my library. I mean, there is a lot of books in my library. They are intended for my grandchildren. I don't buy them because I want them. I buy them because I want my grandchildren to be educated. I want them to know these things.
This is why I love when I met you, because what we are doing is actually teaching people that didn't go to school to be rabbis. They went to school for their own professions. But I'm glad to see these people in the room, or whoever is listening, that are interested because they didn't know anything about it. Not just religion, but we're talking about customs. Every family, every different Sephardics and Ashkenazis, they all have different customs. And to tell people why these customs are different. An Ashkenazi when I left Rome, I didn't know what rice was. We never had rice. We ate potatoes and corn.
Right.
This is why we eat on Passover, we ate potatoes. But the guys, Sephardics, they come from the Middle East, they didn't have no potatoes. They ate rice. That's why they eat kitniot. So, yeah. But if somebody didn't know about this, they wouldn't know the reason why. So this is why I enjoy being with Aryel, that at least we try to explain some of the things, some of the difference, some of the good things, and some of the bad things. We have a lot of bad things, and we got to do something about it. There's no way out of it, because if we don't, Judaism will disappear off the face of the earth. People are just going to intermarry, and they're just going to forget about it. And that's what hurts.
Yeah, and unfortunately, if it should happen, that we know that the universe will cease to exist. When there's
we
no
cry
more Jews, there will be no reason, and it will make a liar out of God, and there will be no more universe.
But we cry for Moshiach. We don't even know who Moshiach is. If you ask a lot of people, and we don't deserve for Moshiach to come. We are plain, straightforward sinners.
Yeah.
Moshiach will not come, or Hashem won't let him come. That's why you don't see the Bet Hamikdash.
Well, I'll
Because
tell you the when you come to the whether you go to a brick and mortar shul or you come here on Shabbat, that helps to sustain the world.
Yep.
The world is only being sustained because of serious Orthodox Jews and the Haredi and the Hasidim. It's the only thing keeping this world going.
What does
And
it say?
every time you sit down and you go and you say Shachrit, or you say or you do Musaf, or you do Mincha, or what, or
Mariv.
thank you, Mariv. Every time you do that, you're sustaining the world.
What does it say about? But if you save one Jew, one's Jewish life, you remind him who he was. It says in the Torah, it is as if you've revived the whole nation. So every time you revive this Jew, going back to Judaism, you're just raising, like you said, you're raising that standard, and people understand. I had two Polish guys, and I did the Horus at Star of David, and I used to sit for dead people. I buried people. I met two Polish guys. They used to come because some of their friends used to die. And he said, "Oh, Rabbi, we don't believe in God, A year went by, and they come over and they say, hello, Rabbi. I said, how are you? I said, you know what? They says, we decided to go to shul on Shabbos. I said, oh, wow. It's a miracle. And this kept on going for a few years. They said, Rabbi, we go every day. We put on a tefillin at the end of the service. We go into the kitchen. We have a schnapps and a piece of cake. We love it.
Yeah. Well,
I said, you're getting older. You're getting closer to God.
Yeah.
And they said, we finally realized it. And that's what it is.
I had, I think I've told you this story before. I don't think I've told the people in the audience this before, but I used to do a comic strip. I've done a number of comic strips over the many years, but the one that the comic strip that Zeta the puppet is based on, the Four Corners. Anyway, we used to go to the Randy and I. When we were doing the comic strip, we used to go to the Comic Cons all the time because we knew a lot of people in the industry and stuff like that. And of course, when you go to the Comic Cons, they have the stars there and stuff, people getting autographs and stuff like that. And I used to take Zeta with me. And people got a big charge out of him, and we were going in there one time, and Don Wells and Sandal Bergman were sitting in two booths right close together, and they saw Don Wells saw me with the puppet, and she called me over, and we sat down. We had a very nice conversation for a little while, probably a half an hour, and then as soon as we got done, Sandal Bergman called us over, and she absolutely fell in love with that puppet. She thought Zeta was the best thing in the world she'd ever seen. We sat there and talked for close to an hour. And when we got close to being done, Zeta looked at her and said, "So, when was the last time you were in shul?" And she just thought for a moment, and she got real serious, and she looked at us and she said, "It's been a long time, but I think I'm going to go back." We use what we have. That furry-faced little friend of mine does a lot to bring a lot of Jews back to their Judaism. It's surprising.
Let's hope things get better. Got to keep the positive outlook on life because, looking at the other side is not a pleasant thing.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe we should do a little more than just a story time with Zeta, because he does seem to have a draw. Let's see what we got going in the chat room before we close this up for tonight. Okay, Donald says the Orthodox in Israel have a very low divorce rate. It used to be around 2%, while other movements are around 55%. I would say probably maybe even higher today. LA County issue.
Does he know why?
Pardon?
Does he know why that the Orthodox Jews have a very low divorce rate?
Tell me
If
why.
you look at the pictures, you know why? It's
Why?
because if you look at the pictures, the wife walks around with the M16 on her shoulder.
Yeah. Okay, let's see what else we got in here.
No, there was a picture. There was a picture from Israel, and a husband and wife and children walking, and on her shoulder there's a submachine gun.
Yeah.
He doesn't have one. So.
Okay, let's see.
Hello.
Yeah, we're still here.
Lost you.
We didn't go anywhere.
Okay.
Yeah, the Talmud says, this is Marshall says, the Talmud says all Jews are responsible for each other. And that goes to as far as when they're doing something wrong, you let them know they're doing something wrong. Okay, let's see. Women are told that when they fall in love with a puppet, they never go back. That's how, that was Donald. Okay, I don't know about that, but okay. So we've reached the end of our time now. I'm going to turn you down for just a moment, Ancel, and we're going to go ahead and sign out. I want to thank everybody for being here this evening. Hey, if you have any ideas about things you want to hear us discuss or kvetch about or whatever, send me an email. You can find our email from the old Seven Bakers website. You can get the email address there. Let us know what you think of the show. Let us know of subjects that you would like to hear us discuss and stuff like that. Don't forget that tomorrow night is the Parsha study with Rabbi Ancel and myself tomorrow. That's at 8 p.m. Eastern. Friday, 8 p.m. is the Kabbalat and Mariv Shabbat service. Shabbat morning at 10 a.m. is Shachrit and Musaf. And then Monday is Zeta Stories Corner at 8 p.m. And right back here again on Tuesday for the Rabbis Discuss. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I almost said Happy Hanukkah, but Hanukkah's already passed. So anyway, hope you have a good week, and we hope to see you in shul. So until then, Chobah Gitten Nacht.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Delicious things to eat.
The popcorn can't be beat. The